Where you go at WGR Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence as we are headed to the weekend. Gene Battaglia with you here from the High Falls Studios in downtown Rochester, the final Friday of the month of February, which means, one of my favorite months coming up here, March. We hit that coming up Monday. But before we get to that, got a great show here for you today. Our phone number, 866-4326. 866-4326. That's area code 585. As always, we are joined by our fine producer, Terrible Take Timmy, wearing the radio clothes.
In my radio clothes best, yeah.
Yeah, wearing the radio clothes. Wearing a Jays hat today, which I will allow. I'm not a person that says you can have a second or third favorite team or whatever it is, but you got to meet Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement is in your cell phone, so you lined up Ernie Clement one time on the show. I would love to have Ernie Clement on the show here, but the thing is, 1 to 3, they're kind of playing most of the time, or they're kind of doing their stuff here with spring training.
Yeah, so we could try maybe for the World Baseball Classic, or we just kind of root for him from here and hope it goes well. But yeah, the hat, Ernie.
Yeah, so there's Tim. He'll screen your calls at 866-4326. We have more submissions for a new theme song. So, again, I feel like I have to reset this for folks that might be tuning in, wondering, wait a second, why are you on at 1 o'clock? It was on this past Monday that we made the switch. It's now WGR Rochester here, but we're going to keep the Rochester angle here in the hours from 1 to 3. Danger is now operations manager, so Danger's not in the building today, so we can maybe get away with a few things here.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can see what we can have here. Coming up, Sal Capaccio, who's back from the Combine. We will talk to Sal at the bottom of this hour because when we talk about the Combine, yes, the Bills should draft a wide receiver. What do you do about the defense? That's the question. I'm trying to wrap my mind around what Jim Leonard would want out of this defense. What kind of skill player? Do you need to put more of an emphasis on linebackers? Will there really be 4 linebackers in this, or will it kind of morph? And the idea that Taron Johnson might be up for a different position here, moving him over to the free safety position, one that they've always been interchangeable under the Sean McDermott defense, but Sean McDermott defense isn't here anymore. It's Jim Leonard's defense. So how would that look if indeed that is in play, pairing with Cole Bishop? Cole Bishop now entering year 3, showing some great promise last year in drafting him in the second round. So we'll talk to Sal Capaccio. A lot of hockey this weekend. It starts tonight at the Blue Cross Arena. The Amherst, 2 games this weekend. Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock here on WGR Rochester there in Syracuse. But tonight, hey, it's Laval coming back. Yay, Laval in first place. This team's really good. It is a night, though, that if you were here in Rochester in the 90s, a lot of great memories, right? That 96 Calder Cup team. It was last March that we lost Scott Metcalf at the way too young age of 58. And tonight, the franchise will honor Menor. And I think I have all the confidence in the world that it's going to come off great. So we'll talk to Andrew Mossbrooks. He, along with Don Stevens, have been sharing the play-by-play duties this season. Andrew back from the trip in Cleveland. I also want to ask Andrew this. With 38 starts on the season in goal, Devin Levi leads the American Hockey League in that category. Devin Levi is the hope for the Amherst that they can somehow navigate their way to a great place here this spring. Right now, standing-wise, not so great. 5th place. All the excuses in the world, right? Call-ups and injuries and blah, blah, blah. Sure. But ultimately, even if you get reinforcements and people get healthier, I don't know if this roster is as good as, let's say, the Laval Rocket. And you lost to Laval last year in the divisional final. So, and by the way this is trending right now, that wouldn't be the divisional final. Only 4 or 5 matchup the Amerks would find themselves in, and if you get by that, you would face Laval. Now, we've got a whole month to go here in the regular season, so I'm not exactly concerned about that all that much. You have time to improve, but that's a fine balance, right? Like, you want points, you want Devin Levi to continue to be the workhorse. You want him to be fresh coming up in the month of April. The Amerks have been working him, and the predicament for the Amerks right now, they're not in 5th place because of Devin Levi. There's some other things, just young players, just not a lot of depth. We'll talk to our guy Andrew Mossbrooks at the bottom of this hour, or hour number 2, I should say, in the 2 o'clock hour. Again, 866-4FAN, 866-4326 on the all-new WGR Rochester. Now, before we get to the news of the day, I want a ruling here. And there are 3 votes here in the sports bar. The votes are this. Now, this is a carryover from the old show, for lack of a better term. And I'm still here, right? But when we're doing the show with Danger, there was only one caller who was ever banned from the show. Luke from Rochester. And tried getting him reinstated. Danger always said, no, no, no. Danger's not here anymore. Now, this goes back to the Baltimore game, Tim, if you have this one. Yeah. This was Luke in Rochester with not even arguably, it is one of the worst takes here in the history of the sports bar. Luke in Rochester. Welcome, Luke.
Hey, guys. I like your thinking today. Listen, Gary kind of made me realize that the Bills are really a good team. And you guys sort of went off and talked about possible parade. I think it could happen. However, last night was really concerning for me. Joe Brady had 36 rushing attempts, 22 passing attempts. Bills could have blown the Ravens out in the second half when they received the kickoff where they were up by 11. If they actually passed the ball. You got Tony Romo, as the game was tightening, talking about how the ball should be in Josh Allen's hands at least 2 out of the 3 downs. And he's repeating it several times. And it's not the first game they said that involving the Bills. I think the last time they played Kansas City might have been the other time. But I can't wait for Brady to leave, and he should take McDermott.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh, Luke. Okay, Luke.
Time out.
No,
Luke.
You've got to be. Oh.
Luke just hates every coach.
Okay.
If it's not McDermott, it's Brady, Luke? Are you out of your mind, dude? If we're lucky, we have him as an offensive coordinator again next year because he's going to be a head coach in the NFL. And he's going to be a head coach in the NFL because he knows when to put his foot on the gas and he knows when to take it off. And he's working hand in hand with the head coach who you've called on this show for to be fired multiple times, and a lot of times for no reason other than you just don't like the guy. Luke, come on. Come on, man. We're better than that. This show is better than that. You need to be better than that. It's a Victory Monday, and you want to see, you can't wait for Joe Brady to leave? Luke, banned! Whoa. Banned! You're done. I'm executive powers in the sports bar. Luke has been banned from the show. You heard me.
Wow.
And Luke, I don't know what's going on in your life, buddy. I hope you're okay. But to call up on a Victory Monday and say, I can't wait for Joe Brady to leave, you're banned.
I've heard this, like, well, Brady's game plan. Can we review the 2 drives? Because everybody's thinking double dip. Hand off to Cook with the 6-man front. You only get the 1 yard. Pass to Dalton. Kincaid needs to catch that ball.
Yes.
It's an execution thing on that drive. And then the third is blown up because, well, guys got through. Again, execution drop. Well, why is Brady calling, the screen to Dawson Knox? Timeout. That was a Josh Allen check.
I'm stunned. I'm speechless. He's called in so many times in the past. We need to fire Sean McDermott. Like, I've been critical of Sean McDermott. You've been critical of Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott is not being fired. And Joe Brady, we shouldn't be calling up on a Victory Monday saying, I can't wait for Joe Brady to not be here anymore. Are you out of your freaking mind? Luke, be better.
Okay, I'm going to raise my hand here. Mike Danger, hi, I'm the call screener of the show. What do I tell somebody who has been Wow, here's the list. Luke from Rochester.
That's right.
Banned.
That's right. Congratulations,
Luke, you can still listen. You're welcome to listen. You're just not going to get on the air.
We appreciate it, Luke. You are on the list, one of one. That is the worst call we have taken in the – how many years have we been on the air?
This is good. All right, so that was Luke in Rochester. And, again, to kind of bring you back, it's Sunday Night Football. It's the divisional round. It's the 1 and 2 candidates for MVP. Josh Allen comes out on top of Lamar Jackson, and it's the Monday with the Buffalo Bills headed to the AFC Championship game. They are one game away from the Super Bowl. And Luke from Rochester called in and wanted to do Fire the Coach radio, or in this case, Fire the Offensive Coordinator radio, which I'm not going to say that was the wrong call. Danger made the absolute right call, using the executive privilege to ban him. Now, my question is, because we do believe in second chances here in the sports bar, and Luke got a second chance. It was last fall, and basically he started off saying, I'm sorry, but this was my logic, and then he wanted to revisit that, like, no, just say sorry and come on with your take here. So the three of us here, Tim.
Yeah.
By you, me, and Dan DeLorean. Mm-hmm. I asked Dan DeLorean before we got on the air, okay, should we allow Luke in Rochester back into the sports bar? Like, time has passed. Danger's no longer here. And that indeed was one of the worst takes we've ever had, one of the worst calls we've ever had. Again, you beat the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round, and you're saying you can't wait for Joe Brady to leave. Well, the joke's on you, Luke, because not only did he not leave, he's the head coach now. Dan DeLorean is abstaining. Okay. He doesn't want to get involved in this decision. So, Tim, I'm giving you a vote. Yes or no, do we reinstate Luke from Rochester?
As the person in Danger's chair now, I think I have to stay no. Like, he had his chance the second time and faltered there. So I'm going to stick with we tried and it's just not meant to be.
Okay. Now, I'm voting yes for one thing, and this is, some people will say this, my friends will needle this. I'm the card-carrying liberal on the show. I believe in second chances for everybody. I'm a softie. But this doesn't do us any good by Dan DeLorean abstaining. Now the vote is now it's sticky. It's like there should be like a 2-1 vote, and now instead we're 1-1-1.
You are the captain.
I am the captain, and Danger at the beginning of that said he was using his executive powers. So the show has my name in it. I'm going to use my executive powers, but comes with a caveat. And I don't know if it's today. I don't know whenever it is. I don't even know if the guy's listening right now. I don't even know if he still lives in Rochester, okay? But Luke in Rochester, I'm going to allow you in as long as you, here in the offseason, don't play Fire the Coach radio, okay?
Joe Brady fired before the first game would be incredible.
Fire the Coach radio after losing to the Broncos. After 13 seconds, that would be acceptable. Hey, you lost to the Denver Broncos. Sure, you could say, hey, it's time for a change on the Monday after. You beat the Baltimore Ravens. 866-4326.
So he's back for the record?
He's back for the record, yes.
All right.
And I'm not putting out the bat signal from Luke from Rochester. It was just one of those things that I'm driving in today. I'm like, it's one of those things I could make a decision on now, I guess. And maybe this decision blows up, but I'm a believer that once you make a decision, you don't dwell on it. You move on. So, Tim, for the record, you could point to me. Next call could be terrible that he comes in, and I'm not going to second guess it. I'm like, okay, well, we tried. I'm trying to be nice. We're trying to be the nice sports radio show here in Rochester. Sal Capaccio will be coming up here bottom of the hour. I am so impressed. We got another one. We're backlogged now in terms of theme songs. Okay, so one of the OGs of the sports bar is Chris in South Central Kentucky. Now, so what has kind of happened was radio was always kind of the local thing, right? We're going to tell you the news and the weather and everything, and here's the local high school sports show. Well, now if you move away from Western New York, you can listen to the Odyssey app, and this is how Chris found us. And we're on YouTube, and so for everybody watching that is just looking for Rochester Sports Talk, we welcome you. Chris found us, and he's been a regular contributor, and he had submitted us. Well, he submitted us a song, but two different genres of the song, which this is going to give you points for creativity, Chris. I'm not sure which genre we're going to start out with. We'll just don't tease this up. We're going to listen to this. Is this worthy of becoming the new theme song here in the sports bar?
In Rochester, there's one place to go to escape the cold and escape the snow, where friends will come to talk sports all day, and they do so with Timmy's terrible takes. It's the place where Gino hosts 5 days a week. 2 hours of excellence simply cannot be beat. Local flavors on tap as we gather to cheer the Bill Sabres and Emerks all year. It's the Sports Bar on WGR. It's the Sports Bar on WGR. It's the Sports Bar on WGR Rochester.
Ooh. Now, I don't know if that style fits our personalities, but you know what, Tim? High points for working in terrible time, Timmy. Terrible take, Timmy. Timmy needs terrible takes. The 2 hours of excellence, I appreciate that. And getting the word Amerks pronounced correctly, because I'm going to assume that was AI generated. Just a hunch there. But Chris also has a different one we'll play next hour for you. And again, here are the rules, okay? It's not an official contest. You will get paid nothing, okay? So if you submit, okay, just know that you will forever be in sports bar lore, like Andy from Animal Control in the city of Rochester. Like guys who give us bit ideas, we will always give you the credit. Number 2, know the way that licensing works, okay? If you decide, Gene really likes Steely Dan, let me write, instead of Peg, we'll do the lyrics to the sports part of the song of Peg. Can't do that, okay? That'll get flagged, and I don't want to get sued, and you don't want to get sued. So those are fun things to kind of do offline, but when we bring them on the air, that would get us in trouble. So that just kind of getting that out there. And look, we if you submit, we may crush you. We may, like the first one, Joe from Schenectady submitted. Okay, Mercs, come on, Joe, got to be better than that. Got to be better. Like obviously that's AI, and I appreciate the effort, but hey, tell AI to get the word Amerks pronounced correctly in a Rochester, New York accent. Por favor.
Get it right. Yeah, that was solid. Not enough energy for me, but it's a good start. Again, everything so far has been decent, but we're still looking for the A+.
Our handle, WGR Rochester. I guess if you said the old phrase, you would still find us. Like everything's still kind of in the changeover mode. Well, Pizza Dude writing in, no, not the vibe. That's fair. Okay. I kind of agree. I like the lyrics, but we got a different genre we'll play for you next hour. Craig writing in, I've been wondering if you would let Luke back in. Crying emoji. I let him back in. He must be beside himself if he hated Joe Brady that much. Now Joe Brady is the coach.
Every Bills loss. Luke from Rochester, ready to
That's
go.
it. Yeah, that's it. Let's talk to Sal Capaccio coming up. And again, on the other side of that, time for your calls, comments, whatnot. 866-4326. Area code 585-866-4FAN. My name is Gene Battaglia on the all-new WGR Rochester.
Sports Update.
Bills bring back special teamer Sam Franklin. It's a 3-year deal, according to various sources, worth up to $7.5 million. It's hockey tonight here in the Flower City. The Amerks hosting Laval. Head coach Mike Leone on how to defend the first-place Rocket.
You know, being disciplined in our game when you have to. And it starts out with managing the puck. You know, making good decisions with the puck. They got D that could skate, that get up in the play, and then our D got to do a better job of defending the line. So it starts with our tracking, our gapping, and then ending more plays.
Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks with the call tonight beginning at 7. Andrew will join us next hour. Sabres tonight, they're down in Florida. That game can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. RIT is at Holy Cross, a win for the Tigers tonight, and they'll clinch home ice in the first round. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR. Rochester.
As for the first time since we had the remodel here in the Sports Bar, welcome. Gene Battaglia with you. New time here, 1 to 3 weekdays. A guy that certainly has helped us out since day one. Somebody was out in Indianapolis. Back in West New York now, if I'm not mistaken, Sal Capaccio, longtime Bills observer. Sal, appreciate the time. How was Indianapolis? I picture it as just kind of the off-season convention for a lot of people. Sal, today, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks. And yeah, and Indy is great. It's a really good city. It's a fun city. It is a convention city. I mean, they kind of have a the market. So the market, they have a reputation for being a very good convention city, and that's why a lot of these, like the NFL Combine's been there, but there's other conventions around the country that go there, and it's a centrally located place, in the Midwest, and that makes it a little bit easier. They also do it right. The convention center there is massive. It's sprawling. It's about like 3-4 city blocks. It's incredible, actually. And the NFL Combine takes up so much of it, not the testing and stuff. That's at Lucas Oil, like the running. And it's yet still only a quarter of the convention center it takes up. It's incredibly massive. It's got great steakhouses, great sports bars, great restaurant city. So I understand why they keep it there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with the NHL Combine being in Buffalo, I mean, maybe that it's great to keep hold of those things. Sal, let's start here because this is it's kind of exciting, right? New coaching staff, particularly on defense. How do you think this kind of impacts the personnel? I'll ask you open-ended because there are going to be changes. Where would you start here? What kind of format will we see more often from new defensive coordinator Jim Leonard?
Well, he's going to be a lot different than Sean McDermott, I think, from a standpoint of you're going to see more 3-4, maybe more aggressiveness, blitzing, things like that. But this is a really different thing that we've seen with the Bills over the last 10 years, essentially, which is we always knew what Sean McDermott's defense would look like. We just didn't know the pieces. Now it's reversed. We don't know what the defense is going to look like, and we're going to have to figure that out by the pieces, I think, if that makes sense, right? Which is, like, what exactly does Jim Leonard want to do? Well, we all have an idea of what he might have done at Wisconsin, what he learned under Vance Joseph. He played for Rex Ryan. You can get an idea of that, but until he starts to actually acquire players, until they start to acquire players, we can't really start to conceptualize and visualize what that's going to look like. I think this is a blank canvas in a lot of ways, which is exciting. We haven't had that in a long time, but that's where this team is going to have the biggest changes, obviously. Look, I mean, yes, there is a component of moving on from Sean McDermott as the head coach because of the proverbial playoff wall, as Terry Pegula put it. But I think what we've all learned here watching is they really wanted to have a new defense. Because if they wanted a new offense, they wouldn't have hired Joe Brady. He's going to run the offense. I mean, simple as that. They're fine with the offense. We know that because they kept the same coach and they have the same quarterback, obviously. But if you wanted a new defense, the only way to do that was change out Sean McDermott because it's his defense.
I won't ask you to speculate on who might not be back. I mean, we all could look at the salary cap. We all could, make our guesses. But my question is, it's about Taron Johnson and the idea that Brandon Beane didn't rule it out like a position change. And Sal, if I just start here, like if you mentioned 3-4, and again, we really don't know. But Johnson's role last year, he was a starter at the slot position, but from what you see, would that actually benefit him and benefit the team if he moved back and was paired alongside Cole Bishop?
Yeah, I've been very skeptical about this, but because Brandon Beane did not rule it out, I think we have to start talking about it a little bit more. I still think it's less likely to happen than actually happen, but one of the reasons why is I just don't know if he has that necessarily skill set. He is a very good football player, though, but that's why I think Brandon Beane keeps the door open, because this is less about Taron Johnson, the football player, and he did not have as good of a year last year. He has been a star, but he was not as good last year. And fans, weekly would say, man, Taron just hasn't been the same player. And I could understand that. This isn't as much about Taron Johnson as it is about the scheme, I think. And you have a player here who is going to be 30 years old. He's not overly old, but he's getting older. He's been a very good football player for you. He's got a lot of mileage on him, but he's still a good football player. And by moving on from him, you don't save a lot of money. Like if they said right now we want to move on from Taron Johnson, they're only saving less than $2 million. They're still taking a big cap hit. He would have to be a post-June 1 cut. Then you don't even get that money until June. So with Brandon Beane, I think by listening to him, what really I came away with was him basically saying, look, we have a good football player here, but he might not have the same role or be on the field as much. So how do we maximize him and his value to our defense? We're not going to use him as much, but we don't want to move on from him. And that's how you get to let's maybe think about, or at least not rule out, him playing in a different role.
Yeah, I mean, maybe secondary is all. If you just said, hey, there are really some nice pieces there. Cole Bishop taking a step forward, certainly. Christian Benford, a true corner one. And Maxwell Harrison has promise, but even still, Sal, like the need, how much is the need in the secondary, knowing that you need depth in all areas for this team?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, everything is on the table, I think, to use that same phrase for, Brandon Beane not ruling anything out. We can all look at safety and say Cole Bishop is a very ascending player. He could be a star in this league, right, to what he put on tape last year. But at the very least, I think he's a guy that they can rely on. He's going to be able to do multiple things for them. What happens next to him? I think they could probably move on from Taylor Rapp. I mean, you could save over $3 million moving on from Taylor Rapp, and considering where everything went with the injuries last year and how it went down, and the team was actually kind of better off once they transitioned away from him, that's probably very much on the table. They do have Sam Franklin. They just re-signed, but that's a depth piece that's special teams guy, right? Then you look at, but I do wonder, Jordan Hancock, what do they think about him? What does Jim Leonard think about Jordan Hancock? Somebody we haven't really talked about. Could he be a guy that could start there? And then you look at the corner spots, and we know Christian Benford. He's going to be number one. And Max Harrison is going to be the starting corner. I can't imagine a scenario where he isn't. He is your first-round pick from last year, and he played well. But you do need depth. Tre'Davious White played last year, and he played well. I wonder if he played too well to price himself out of Buffalo as a depth player. So I think the secondary's got to have work done on it. You're probably looking at one starting spot open in the secondary, and that's safety. But you are looking at guys right after those starting spots to fill in the depth.
Yeah, quick follow-up. Dorian Strong, we didn't get an update, did we? I like what I saw last summer of Fisher, but it seems unfortunate, Sal, because I thought he was trending in the right direction there.
No, we didn't from Brandon Beane, but we did from Dorian Strong a little before that. He had neck surgery, and he believes, and he stated on social media that he plans on coming back. But all that obviously is TBD. We'll see where it goes. The Bills can begin off-season workouts on April 6th because they have a new coach. But we will hear from Brandon Beane before that free agency. We'll see what they do in free agency. That could give us a clue there as well. And then you have the owners' meetings at the end of March. We'll get a little bit more insight from him. So obviously, there's more here. There's a full month or so to kind of learn more info. But Dorian Strong, he indicated on social media he plans on coming back to play.
We're talking to Sal Capaccio as he covers the Bills for WGR. This is WGR. We're one big happy family here now, Sal. Yeah, so
I mean, we always have been, really, right? We're just a little different sounding now, even more so like a family.
Yeah, so when you're on 10 to noon, when you're doing the Extra Point show, you're also here in the Flower City. So, you can give Sal a call and talk Bills with him, certainly, during the time slot. Sal, about those linebackers, I guess let's start with Bernard here, because to me the injuries really kind of piled up for him, but then I'm wondering, all right, is he somebody that would work well if you're actually going to go with two inside linebackers? Your thought on, and we know Matt Milano right now, his contract, I can't say he'll be back on the team. How will that position look in your opinion coming up next season?
Yeah, I actually think that Terrell Bernard could be better suited for a switch to 3-4 inside linebacker as opposed to 4-3 middle linebacker. At his size, offenses are getting bigger, and it's tougher for guys at his size to play that true Mike linebacker. There was a time where I think for a good, 10 years where having those smaller middle linebackers, and it's not saying they can't still work. I think it can, to be athletic and sideline to sideline. I still, we're still not talking about the Mike Singletary, even Ray Lewis days, but I do think you have to be a little bit bigger, I think, the way offenses have responded with some bigger personnel now, and heavier personnel. So maybe a shift to, 3-4 inside linebacker would do him good to help his wear and tear, and also, be able to still do a lot of the things he still does. Next to him, the question is, does Dorian Williams have enough of what they think could be a 17-game starter? That's a question there. I think they go out and look for somebody in free agency to play there. I think Leo Chanel is a really big option here for the Bills, who played with the Chiefs. He's had success there, but he played for Jim Leonard at Wisconsin, and it would be kind of a natural fit. Don't know exactly what his price tag would be, but that'd be somebody you could kind of plug and play right there. And then Dorian Williams could still be a guy that you could play as a linebacker, as a depth piece, and be a core special teamer going into his fourth year. I think Joe Andreessen even fits better in a 3-4 as inside linebacker, the Buffalo kid. But again, more of a depth piece. So I still think you're looking at someone to fit in that spot next to Terrell Bernard that could be a starter. The question really, to me, comes down to what do they think about Dorian Williams? Matt Milano, it appears as though his time in Buffalo is probably over. It doesn't have to be, but they are taking on an $11 million cap hit for him, his contract voiding him being a free agent.
Yeah, that you got to carry that over. As we're talking to Sal Capaccio here, just back from Indianapolis, and Sal, of course, every Bills conversation ultimately will have a discussion about the wide receiver position, and if we're just penciling in how this kind of looks. Here would be my opinion. Palmer is on this team, because maybe he still has something, or at least you're taking him camp. He's not going to be a cap casualty, right? So I see him. I see Keon Coleman. It serves no purpose, in my opinion, to trade Keon Coleman at this point. I don't know if you see that, but I'd be willing to give the kid another shot here. And then, of course, Shakir, which would leave me go get something nice and tasty, whether that's through the free agency of or by trade, and then, oh boy, get something nice and tasty. I don't know if you knew this or not, Sal, but we're all gaga here in Rochester for Casey Concepcion. Dad is from here. Okay, he moved away when he was 3, but to hear him give out a shout out today to the 585, I am smitten, Sal.
Yeah, me too. I really like the kid. I learned today he was born in Rochester. I had no idea until I saw that, honestly. And then, obviously he's had a really decorated college career. And not only, by the way, was he a very good wide receiver and won the Paul Hornung Award, which, by the way, was given to Travis Hunter the previous 2 years. He's actually a really good return specialist, which is something the Bills actually need on their roster badly right now. They don't have a guy like that. I got a return catcher, Khalil Shakir, can get some yards sometimes, but it's not really what his forte is. So I like him a lot. Now, question is, do the Bills want to attack wide receiver in the draft and go with more unknown commodities but cheaper? Or do they want to go out and get proven commodities like they did in 2020 with Stephon Diggs when they made that trade several years ago? So there's definitely some, questions about how they want to go about it. I also really like Casey Concepcion, as you say. Now, as the roster is constructed currently, I don't think that you could have, Joshua Palmer. I don't think you're moving off of Joshua Palmer, giving, what it would cost them, and the fact that I think that he just had some bad luck with injuries last year. But that was kind of the story with some of the guys like even Curtis Samuel. But Curtis Samuel, you could save $6 million of moving off him. I wouldn't be stunned if they did that. And then you look down the roster. Gabe Davis is going to be free agent, but coming off the torn ACL. Tyrell Shavers coming off the torn ACL. I mean, you got to think about how the back end of this roster looks as far as and including the top end. And honestly, right now, the only guy I think has a secure spot is Khalil Shakir, because as you mentioned, I agree. I don't know if Keon Coleman's on this roster. I give it right now a 50-50. They're talking about, they're praising him and talking him up, but I think that could be because of, keeping his value as high as possible after what happened in the press conference, last month with Terry Pagula and indicating, that it was the coaches who wanted him, not Brandon Beane. And they've kind of had to do a little reparation on that, I think, for him and his stock, his value, but also Joe Brady saying, the best thing that happened to Keon Coleman is me becoming his head coach. So I do think they feel Keon Coleman might be able to work. The question is, how confident can they be that, as Brandon Beane just said this week, that the immaturity issues off the field won't impact him on the field? Like, how do they know that? They don't. Well, maybe one of the ways to make sure that you know that is by moving off of him and not having to worry about it.
Well, gosh, if you go back to that win over the Ravens week 1, right? And the great rally, Ed Oliver forcing the fumble, but it's Palmer who comes down with a big catch, and it's also Keon Coleman making plays, and you see, I don't have the stats in front of me, it was something like 8 catches over 100 yards, catching a ball off the deflection there in the end zone. I mean, it was the promise there, Sal. Is it just that it's a league where you can't rest on your laurels too much? I'm just wondering if there's actually more to the story, in regards to Keon Coleman, because if you see something like that, okay, that's what we drafted you for. But one game is not going to make an individual, and I'm just curious to get your thoughts on Keon Coleman from where you sat last year.
I just think he needs to grow up. I think Keon Coleman has, as Brandon Beane alluded to, maturity issues. He has maturity/immaturity issues. I think he needs to grow up, understanding how to be a professional. And that starts with, the offseason, doing everything right. And he pretty much did last year, but then those other things came about and still reared their head. So that's where it is for me with Keon Coleman, because I do think he can help this offense. I do think he's a talented football player. He's not an elite wide receiver, separator, things like that, but he does have traits that can help this Buffalo Bills offense. But you're not going to help this offense if you can't be on the field and if you can't be relied upon. And how can your coaches or front office think you can be relied upon on the field if you're not being relied upon off the field to do everything right? So whatever the issues are in the background, he just has to figure them out and become more mature and more professional.
Sal, we haven't talked since the end of the season, which would mean to me, I was floored. You could have knocked me over with a feather that the Bills actually made the move. Your thoughts on the big change here in Buffalo and Joe Brady? Like, what will he be like here as a head coach in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think that the Bills' offense is going to probably, look to be opened up a little bit more, a little more vertical, things like that we haven't seen and people have talked about. That's number one from a schematic standpoint, because I think that as much as we talk about, Joe Brady still was the play caller and had, autonomy to call the plays. He had to do it under the guise of, I should say, Sean McDermott, the game plan that he wanted, no doubt. So that's number one. Number two is he will not have anything really to do with the defense other than, as he said, learn the language, right? I mean, that was interesting when he said, I just want to learn the language of the defense, want to know what Jim's calling in those critical situations. He's not going to touch the defense. He's going to let that be. So what does that look like? That looks like Joe Brady being more of a hands-on offensive head coach and then allowing other people to kind of do their job on defense. And look, from a personality standpoint, I think that Sean McDermott, a really excellent head coach. We all know that. Sean deserves every bit of credit for getting the Bills to where they are right now as anybody that's been in that organization. There's no doubt about it. I also think that with Sean McDermott came a lot of pressure. He's a guy that grinds on you real hard. It puts a lot of pressure to be great, and that's why they have risen to that level. But I think they got to a point where they needed to breathe a little bit. And I think Joe Brady's personality is going to allow them to breathe a little bit. The question is, do you breathe a little too much and you don't have those things buttoned up you need to have buttoned up that Sean McDermott did? Or do you breathe enough to say, you know what, we don't have to be really tight in those situations? Those are the fascinating things that are going to come about with Joe Brady as a head coach.
Yeah, and gosh, we haven't even brought up 17 here yet. And I wanted to get your thoughts on, what you observed about over the years, the relationship between Brady and Allen, the number one relationship, right, that has to happen for a winning football team when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, how those two will work together. And then while we're here talking about Allen, Sal, I thought it was remarkable how he just played through that foot issue last year, and then you see him on crutches. So, kind of the prognosis for Josh Allen, I mean, when he's healthy here, right, we're hoping that everything's going to be okay coming up this season, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Josh has indicated he'll be fine for the offseason, too. I mean, there shouldn't be any issues here. He's going to be a father. We know that. That him and his wife, Haley, announced that on social media a while ago. So, he's got a big offseason ahead here, and a lot of that includes, the rehab and recovery, but it feels like everything's on track. I asked Joe Brady about Josh's injury and where he is right now. He said, there's one guy I'm not going to worry about is Josh Allen. I think everybody understands that he'll be ready to go when it's time to go. And I think that means in the offseason too, not just the season. So that said, the relationship there is really interesting, right? Because Joe has been the position coach and the coordinator, and now he's the head coach. And you wonder, and we asked Brandon Beane about this at the Combine, you wonder how that translates to being able to coach him hard, right? And being critical of him in the situation you need to. And, when you go from being, I'm going to say buddy, but there's a little more of a intimate relationship of a position coach than there is as a head coach to somebody. Brandon Beane said they actually talked about that with Joe Brady in the interview. They brought it up. They brought up with Brian Daboll too. And Joe Brady, and they're comfortable with it. And Joe Brady, we asked him about it when he was hired, me and Matt Bove in our podcast. And I love Joe Brady's response. And you asked me about what kind of head coach Joe is going to be. I think this is a bigger picture response, dealing with Josh and dealing with everybody else. He said, listen, I'm going to be able to coach these guys hard because I have that relationship, because they know it's coming from a good place. They know that when I need to do that, it's because we're trying to win football games, and that's the level of respect everybody has for each other.
Sal, so this was last November, I think it was. There was this movie on Hallmark that came out. I'm like, I'll get to it, whatever. I'm not really into the Hallmark channel. And then it was some random night over, a holiday break that I pop it on. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's not only Sal, you have lines in this. You're moving like you're not even Sal. You're playing somebody else in there. So just just quickly here, like how much time went into that here? Did you actually have to take lessons here?
No. I mean, I didn't have to do that. I probably should have. I don't know. It's probably terrible. But no, I did apply for a role though. I mean, it wasn't like someone just handed it to me or called me. I was encouraged to apply to be in the movie, and I actually applied for a role that I applied for the role of the on-field reporter, like I am now, a sideline reporter, right? And when I got the email that said that they were going to use me, then I looked and said, that's not the role I applied for. And apparently Luke Russert had also wanted to be in it, and they gave him that role. And they said, we're going to make you a part of the front office. I'm like, well, that's cool. So I'm like, all right, now I'm a front office member. Like, seriously, like I didn't know. So it wasn't even the role I applied for. So then they gave me a call sheet. Call sheet is like when you show up for your scenes and what you have to do and all that. So I showed up, those days, and it was cool. It was a full day shoot, basically. I was there for several hours because we did two scenes with me, one where I'm walking down the hallway and talking, and one where I'm sitting at a conference table. And both I'm with Matt Daddario, the lead actor. I literally have dialogue with Matt Daddario, right, which is really cool. And we did both these scenes. I'm telling you, Gene, we probably had at least 20 to 25 takes of each scene, different camera angles. Then you're getting direction. So you want to talk about coaching. So there's a part in there where we get to the end of the hallway, we start talking, and we did that one little standing there part that lasted 5 seconds, maybe 20 times, because like, now look over here, stand over here, look over there, because they're doing different camera angles. They want me to look at a certain way. It's kind of interesting how it all gets pieced together. Then you see the final product. It looks like you just kind of got up and did it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't work like that. And what's funny is I said to Matt Daddario during one of these shoots, like I felt guilty. Like here I am like, okay, is this because of me that we're doing all these takes, right? And I said, man, I feel bad. Like I'm standing here and I don't know, how many takes have we done? And he goes, oh my God. He said, dude, being an actor is great. He goes, but this is what the job is. He said, we do this all the time. We do a lot of takes just for that one little part that you might see on TV. But I said, well, I'm not used to that. I'm an unscripted guy. I do radio. You turn the mic on, I talk. It doesn't matter if I make mistakes. I just talk. And then he said, I love that. I would like to do more of that than this, actually. So it's kind of really cool to talk to them about that.
Yeah, it's going to be something I'm sure I have it saved. They'll pop in again there, and just wanted to give him some kudos there, Sal. Sal is going to be on, of course, WGR Rochester as part of the Extra Point Show when you're on, and tell everybody about that, as well as what is the off-season schedule here for the Always Game Day in Buffalo pod, Sal?
Yeah, so Always Game Day, we're doing, when we can, a couple times a week right now. Matt and I just recorded last night, actually. We got a lot of stuff up. People can go find it at Sal Sports on YouTube. Growing that channel, really love it. Everybody go there, subscribe. You'll get a lot of great content, not only with Always Game Day, but the other stuff I do on the side. Sal's House podcast. I did a couple of different things from the Combine with that, and had a lot of great interviews that you can watch there. And then as far as WGR, 10 to 12, the Extra Point Show, every day, and then in Rochester as well. And right now is the time of year too where I'll be on, and then you'll hear Derek and Zach on during that time slot. I'm actually going to be gone for an event next week for a few days, so I'll be on like Monday, and then I'll be joining them on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I come back and it's free agency right away. I mean, March 9 through 10 is the illegal tampering period. 9 through 11, excuse me. Starting the 11th, you can sign players, and then there's a couple of weeks, and then I'll be out at the NFL owners meetings in Phoenix, Arizona at the end of March.
Doesn't feel like there's much of an off season. So
Never.
Yeah,
The NFL never stops. It doesn't stop for anybody, buddy, including me or you. It's crazy, right? It's just like it doesn't matter. You just got to keep up and keep rolling.
That's it. We love it. We're addicted. Sal, appreciate it. Let's do this again sometime here.
You got it, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks, Sal. Sal Capaccio joining us here in the Sports Bar. We'll take a break, and we'll get some news on the NFL salary cap. We also have some audio from Casey Concepcion today. We'll get to that. Your calls as well at 866-4326 here on WGR Rochester.
So much action, we couldn't fit it all. AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
The NFL is so wealthy, right? It's just, what other league has double-digit growth? What other business has double-digit growth year over year over year? If the NFL were a publicly traded company, we're all buying stock and we're all enjoying our retirement, right? It would be NVIDIA, right? Well, maybe not that much, but the story here today is that the NFL salary cap has gone up to $301.2 million. 301.2. It's the first time that we've had a salary cap go over $300 million. That, if you're curious, last year was at 279.2. So it is a jump of $22 million. So that will give the Bills just enough. Again, I think they have enough for one big ticket item. And the big ticket could be as simple as Mike Evans. Like if the Bills drafted Casey Concepcion in round 1 and sign Mike Evans and Khalil Shakir, and then you have a bunch of other guys battling out, including Keon Coleman, for 4, 5, 6. Josh Palmer's still around, and maybe you draft somebody else. Look, all of a sudden, looks a lot better, doesn't it? $300 million, 301.2 to be exact. This is amazing. It's amazing. We will have some audio from the Combine coming up. We will have time for your calls. We'll answer some of your tweets as well. We are on X, our handle WGR Rochester. You can leave a comment in the YouTube section. Or thanks again to Sal Capaccio for joining us. Andrew Mossbrooks, one of the voices of the Rochester Americans, will join us later this hour as Hockey Tonight downtown. Can the Amherst get the 2 points here against Laval? Again, our phone number 866-4326 here on WGR Rochester.
Lawyer.
WROCAM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills bring back special teamer Sam Franklin, a 3-year deal worth up to $7.5 million. The combine continuing in Indianapolis tonight downtown. Hockey night for the Rochester Americans. Once again, Laval the opponent. Amherst head coach Mike Leone says heading into March, this is a challenge.
I think we have the hardest schedule of our division going forward, winning percentage-wise, of teams who are going to face. I think it's good. I think it hardens the group a bit because, if you don't play at the level that you need to play against, it won't be good.
Andrew Mossberg's Don Stevens will have the call tonight. Andrew will join us later this hour here in the Sports Bar. Sabres tonight play at Florida. That game can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. RIT with a win tonight at Holy Cross would clinch home ice in the first round of the Atlantic Hockey Playoffs. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
Like Deion Sanders, we are high-stepping in hour number 2. Welcome once again. Talking sports with you here in the Flower City. Our phone number, 866-4326, area code 585. To hear 585 today. Oh, we'll get to that here in a little bit. People writing in, and again, we have more reaction to the Chris from Kentucky offering that one up. Just somebody just saying that was not the really kind of the style of music that we want to be listening to. He did it in a different style, so we'll get to that submission. And we welcome your submissions for new theme song. We had the theme song submitted by Sean from Long Island. In Long Island, you don't say Long Island. You say Long Island, like it's one word, Long Island. And it was great, and we used it for years. But it's a new show. It's kind of the Sports Bar 2.0. But what we promise you is we're going to continue to deliver you sports from a local angle here in these 2 hours. And if you can't listen in real time in the 1 to 3 p.m. window, I have a job. Hey, don't worry about it. Like, download the Odyssey app if you haven't done so already. And, honestly, you probably should because, you could listen to WFAN or if you're a Sox fan, EEI or any of those stations in our portfolio here at Odyssey. And certainly listen to the Sports Bar. You just find WGR Rochester, and Dan DeLorean has everything served up nicely where, hey, I only want to hear the Sal Capaccio interview. Bam, it's right there. Hey, I just want to hear hour number 2. Bam, it's going to be right there. So just hook it up to your Bluetooth on the way home. Away you go. As I've been saying all week, that when we started the Sports Bar 9 years ago, When we started the Sports Bar 9 years ago,
that button was somewhere easier to find.
Oh,
9 times.
Tim, you were not the guy who had that before.
No, I'm not. I did not pretend to be either.
We would watch television, and I don't even know what the network TV show back then, Dancing with the Stars tonight at 9 o'clock, and everybody would sit down at 9 o'clock and watch. Everything's pretty much on demand now. Even the networks figured this out with like ABC and Hulu. I like Paradise. I don't have to wait till the spring. I'm watching it now on Hulu. So like on-demand viewing is a thing, with the exception of sports and some other things. And look, for online listening, you listen to podcasts. You should and we're no different. And you may have a favorite podcast. Your favorite podcast isn't putting 10 hours a week out. That's what we're doing here in Rochester, right in this table. And we've got a team here behind the scenes. Dan DeLorean, always a good guy. And Timmy, terrible take, Timmy, who I'm debating, should we give you a segment next week? I don't know.
You're the captain now.
I know.
We've got Luke back.
I let Luke back in, right? So it's like I have these powers now I didn't have before.
Things are happening in 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, it was always danger, and I had a separation of labor when it came to the show. But ultimately, his name was in front. And now it's like, okay, you know what? I'm the guy who's kind of stepping into this role, and hopefully, who would be the quarterback that kind of was a backup and then all of a sudden won a Super Bowl?
Nick Foles?
Maybe. Yeah, it could be Nick, although Nick Foles kind of flamed out. There's got to be a better example than that. Anyhow, today at the Combine, Andrew Musbrooks, by the way, yes, say we talk local sports. Yes, we'll talk Amherst hockey bottom of this hour. Today at the Combine, it's wide receiver day. It's the day where the receivers, they'll do their thing, and they're at the podium and drawing a crowd in particular from the Bills contingent was Casey Concepcion. Tim, play us the audio here from the wide receiver.
The Rock, 5'8", I put on a shot, when I was about 5. That is the Bills is actually my dad's favorite team. So I've been watching him. I have been watching since I was young. I've been seeing Josh Allen. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And, I would be grateful.
He said 5'8". Oh, Casey, Brandon. Bring him home. He's one of us. Casey Concepcion. Oh. He said 5'8". Oh my gosh, I feel validated. Bills fans from Rochester. How could you not be rooting for the Buffalo Bills at pick number 26 to take this receiver from Texas A&M? Sign a Mike Evans or bring in some big ticket item and then pencil this guy in who could be your 2 or 3. And then he's out at Fisher with his family coming back home. Oh. Credit to Matt Perino and others out at the Combine hoping to bring that audio today. Oh, yeah.
You needed a couple of seconds to catch your breath here.
I need a cigarette. I need to relax. I am smitty. Can you play that one more time? This is Casey Concepcion playing to the Rochester audience.
The Rock, 5'8", I put on a shot, when I was about 5. That is the Bills is actually my dad's favorite team. So I've been watching him. I have been watching since I was young. I've been seeing Josh Allen. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And, I would be grateful.
We would be grateful. Brandon, make the move. Even if you've got to trade up just a little bit there. Thank you, Tim. That's Casey Concepcion at the draft. More reaction coming in online. Greg writing in. And one thing I've been wanting to ask. Previous shows, you would say we were out of the blast zone. Now that you're in the WGR family, are you still out of it? Very, very good question. And I would say, in that regard, Greg, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. No one from Buffalo has called me up and said, hey, this is the way we want you to do the show. Honestly, like day one, we played Joe Brady Lies. Like that would be the thing where we always joke, like if we were doing a show in Buffalo, in the Buffalo radius where people could hear it on air, they would lose their minds, the Bills. Like we're putting the head coach on the air and we're doing the lie detector test right on the air and we're goofing on McDermott. Yeah, I don't think the team would that was where we always said, nope, we can do things over here in Rochester that they can't do in Buffalo. And my promise to you, Greg, and everybody else is no, I am not going to bend the knee and curry in favor. Nothing like that is going to change here in the sports bar. The other storyline we're kind of working on here in the sports bar is the sports bar itself, looking for more of your creative submissions here. So we had the submission earlier from Chris from Kentucky, which it sounded more, I guess, kind of folksy, which it was a different vibe. But for that reason, I think it kind of got voted down. Now, Tim, you're telling me this is in a different genre, this theme song.
Yeah, there's a second version. It is very similar, but musically it is much different.
Much different. Okay, so nope. You're hearing. I'm hearing myself for some reason. Okay, We'll wait for Timmy's cue here. Terrible take Timmy here in the sports bar. So Chris from Kentucky, not one but two submissions using the same lyrics but a different genre of music. Does this fit the sports bar? Is this worthy of becoming our new theme song?
In Rochester, there's one place to go to escape the cold and escape the snow, where friends will come to talk sports all day, and they do so with Timmy's terrible takes. It's the place where Jano hosts 5 days a week. 2 hours of excellence simply cannot be beat. Local flavors on tap as we gather to cheer the Bills, Sabres, and Amerks all year. It's the sports bar on WGR. It's the sports bar on WGR. It's the sports bar on WGR. Rochester.
Oh, yes! I am completely biased. The little yacht rock theme bouncing around. Chris. All right, now, I recognize that's not for everybody. Number one. Number two, it might be a little too long. Okay, that's also part of it, too. But of all the submissions so far, Tim, where would you rank that one?
It's got to be 1B. I think I prefer yesterday's slightly more just because of the tone of it, the music part of it.
Yeah.
This was good. Way better than his original submission, which we played an hour ago.
Do you have the one from yesterday?
Yes, I've got them all.
Okay, so this was Kent from Fairport? Kent from Fairport, who just all of a sudden my email. Oh, here it just kind of popped in the box here. So, okay, so if that is 1A or 1B, this was from yesterday.
Welcome to the sports bar on WGR. Gene Battaglia shares his views so far. Tim is here to play his part. Together they will steal your heart. Every dose of Gene to start, then a little Tim to spar. It's the sports bar, where the talk goes far. It's the sports bar. Tune into WGR.
All right, I like that. I think, though, we need a trailer, how it goes bop, bop at the end.
Yeah,
So-
I think if we combined powers here,
Yeah.
lyrically with the submission from Chris and musically that.
No, but I think there's room for other takes.
Oh, yeah.
So we have one submission. I haven't looked at it while I'm on the air. This is probably the best way, and I'm giving out my email. And if you start spamming me, I will find you. It's Gene, my first name, GENE.Battaglia. Nice Irish name. By the way, I am half Irish. B as in boy, ATTAGLIA at Odyssey, AUDACY. But you can reach out to myself or Tim online too. He is at Wompfump.
Yeah,
Don't get me-
WOMPFUMP. Don't ask why. I don't remember.
No. And then my name at Gene Battaglia. So thank you, Chris, for those submissions. They were wonderful. Much appreciated. The Bills also today added Trace McSorley as an offensive assistant. You remember him from Penn State, right? Being a quarterback of a fun team. He played in the NFL with the Ravens. I don't even remember this. I guess he started one game. There's always a connection. Joe Brady was a graduate assistant, i.e. one of his first jobs with Penn State in 2015 and 2016, and those were McSorley's first 2 seasons on the roster. So when Brady is starting out, he's just in that same age range. So, hey, offensive assistant, what does that mean? It means maybe that Trace McSorley, you get him in the pipeline here. Like if, look at years down the road, like what happens if a good offensive coordinator comes along, poof, they disappear, they become a head coach. It's always good to have like an eye ahead, and that's somebody that certainly Joe Brady trusts. Home ice is what's at stake tonight for the RIT Tigers for the upcoming Atlantic Hockey Playoffs. Tigers could finish anywhere between 2nd and 6th in the standing. 6 points on the line this weekend at the College of Holy Cross. Now, the Atlantic Hockey, when I say 6 points, like 2 games? Yes. Yes. For the NHL, for the love of God, the NHL, go to the 3-2-1 point system. For Atlantic Hockey, that's what they have. 3 of 6 points this week. The team finishes no worse than third. A sweep. RIT remains second, which would guarantee the Tigers home ice in the semifinals should they reach them that far. So at some point we'll catch up next week with Matt Thomas, the head coach of the RIT Tigers. After a good start to the season for the Nighthawks, they now find themselves below 500. They're 4-5. Yeah. Like, it's lacrosse, though. Like, they could get in and be 500. That's kind of where they were. Problem is they get the team with the best record coming into the Blue Cross tomorrow night. That's Saskatchewan, the Rush at 10-1. We now have a retirement date for Chris Berman. Actually, it's a retirement year. The longtime ESPN broadcaster says he's going to retire once his current contract runs out in the year 2029. At that point, he'll be 75 years old. Berman has been with the network since day one. And it used to be when we kind of jumped on the air, like he, fun to goof on Chris Berman, right? But then he lost his wife to a car accident. Like, okay, no, we're not going to do that anymore. I appreciate the place for Chris Berman in terms of broadcast history, because when you go back to the 90s, let's say, the heyday of the Buffalo Bills, it was the 1 o'clock game, it was the 4 o'clock game, and then prime time. And if the 4 o'clock game was crappy, you would bail out of it just so you could get the prime time on time. He and Tom Jackson, that was, all right, here's your sports highlight show on steroids. And it seems so silly today, right? Like, we know the highlights, we know the stats, we know the scores, we know who won the game. And back then, you didn't know any of that. This is pre-internet, right? Or the internet wasn't what it was. It was out there, but we didn't know it. But now, obviously, and I appreciate the efforts that they brought it back in a limited fashion with Booger. But now, when they go to the halftime segment with Chris Berman on Monday Night Football, it's almost like, I saw this. I know. It's one of those, the whoop, 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 and all that. But for Chris Berman, I can't goof on the guy. It's an excellent career. And you want to call your shot in 2029, by all means. You've been around that long. I talk about goofing on people like Jim Nantz, for him to say how many years away, like basically a decade in the future, that's going to be my retirement date after this Masters so I can make it 50 Masters. Okay, that's good. I would keep that to myself, though, because it's like things change. Like, will the Masters be on CBS forever? Probably, I guess. It's going to feel like Masters time, by the way, next week when we're getting into the 60s and 70s. Cannot wait to get to that, certainly as well. Coming up in a few minutes, we'll talk to Andrew Mossbrooks, who was actually in Cleveland a little bit earlier. He was sitting, I think, in the worst seat in the house for Cleveland and the Knicks. He tweeted out a photo. I'm like, I don't know. Like, did you pay for that? Somebody get you that? Was that the Monsters? Maybe. I don't know. Like, the Monsters are a tenant. Maybe they get some free tickets because gosh, it's one thing to – I guess I'm a ticket snob in a way, that when I'm going to a Major League Baseball game, I mean, it's my money. I want to sit up close. I want to experience the action. I went out to Kansas City last year. It was fantastic because Binkley got us, like, you sit up close, but then you have the waiter-waitress service. Oh, you don't have to get up. Like, okay, yep, here's my card. It's like the old Disney, Fast Pass. Like, yep, just put it on the bill there. Yep. And then you get home and like, oh, I did that? Ooh, must have been a good day. Anyhow, Mossbrooks, we're seeing the house for the NBA game. We'll ask about that experience. Our phone line, too, for last call will be open. It's brought to you by Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. Great people and great food out there, if I may say. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line is 866-4FAN. award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
So much action. WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Bills bring back special teamer Sam Franklin. It's a 3-year deal worth up to $7.5 million. Hockey tonight in the Flower City as the Amerks taking on first place Laval once again. Head coach Mike Leone how to defend this team.
You know, being disciplined in our game when you have to. And it starts out with managing the puck, you know, making good decisions with the puck. They got D that can skate, that get up in the play, and then our D got to do a better job of defending the line. So it starts with our tracking, our gapping, and then ending more plays.
We'll have the coverage tonight beginning at 7 o'clock. Andrew Mossbrooks will be on the call. With Don Stevens, Andrew will join us next year in the Sports Bar. Sabres tonight at Florida. You can hear that at 96.5 WCMF. The RIT Tigers at Holy Cross. A win for the Tigers tonight, and they'll have home ice in the first round of the Atlantic Hockey Playoffs. G. Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
I came close once to sneaking into a sporting event. Welcome in. But I don't think it counts because, well, I'll explain the story. It was kind of a challenge, right? When we were doing Fisher football, and this is when the team was, doing well and they were traveling to fun places like, let's say Kentucky. There was a game in Kentucky. Never been to Kentucky. Chris in South Central Kentucky. My first time in Kentucky, 2015. And what is the city that is closest to Kentucky? That's not in Kentucky. That would be Cincinnati. Cincinnati's, Kentucky's basically a suburb of Cincinnati. And so I'd never been to Cincinnati. And one thing or another, like, we're thinking, all right, we're going to get to this Reds game. The Reds are bad. The opponent, the Brewers, are bad. But, you're in another town. You want to go check out the ballpark. Well, we're late getting it, number one, strike one. But then strike two, thunder, lightning, everything else. So the game wasn't started. So let's make our way over, and maybe the skies will clear and the game will happen. I didn't know they were in a lengthy rain delay to the point where, the security is, and we just literally walked in. So when I say sneak in, I literally walked into, they called the bandbox there, and then they called the game. I'm like, oh, all right, well, I thought I would have this story here to tell years and years and years. Tim, you brought up a good point off air because I'm looking at Andrew Mossbrook's photo for him at the game, at the Cavs game the other night. That looked like he was sitting in the worst possible spot. But you're thinking maybe he snuck in?
I'm hoping he big-timed and used his media pass to get into the press box and then was able to wander around through the building.
That could have been it. Or maybe that the Monsters have some Cavs tickets and they're just the worst tickets in the world. So to help us solve this mystery, Andrew Mossbrooks, voice of the Rochester Americans, along with Don Stevens, who the Amherst were in Cleveland on Wednesday. And we'll talk about that Amherst game here, Andrew. But did you sneak in? Did you actually pay for that seat, Andrew?
There's so much I love about this, Gene, including, I don't know if at first you said you were looking at my photo. I thought you were looking at my resume going down the, I am a former voice of the Cincinnati Cyclones in the ECHL, a big fan of Cincinnati. I lived there for 2.5 years, and you're right. It's basically Newport and Covington, Kentucky, that are essentially a suburb of Cincinnati, but they fall in that greater Cincinnati area. And to add more to some Cincy lore, I actually have a really good friend of mine who works in sales with the Cleveland Monsters and the Cavs, and her and I worked together in Cincinnati for the Cyclones. So we left like a month apart from each other. She went to Cleveland, I went to Rochester, and I had our assistant video coach Evan asked me as soon as we got on the bus to leave Tuesday to go to Cleveland. He asked if I wanted to go to the Cavs game, and I said before we I personally I'm not a huge basketball fan, so I was like, hey, I'll see if I can get tickets from my friend. So I didn't sneak in. I did get them for free, if that means anything.
All right.
I think the only reason that I got them as high as they were, and I will admit they were the last row in the building, I think is because of how late the request came in. But it was free nonetheless.
Yeah, okay, so that solves the mystery there. And I am a ticket snob, Andrew, and there's some fun times where you could sit. But hey, you're in an NBA arena, you're there. Funny when we talked to Mike Leone, hey, are you going to go to the Cavs game? He's like, no, this is going to be bad because I have nowhere to go out to eat. Everything's going to be full when I get to go. I'm like, well, you know what? Just get an Uber, head the other direction, and maybe you could work your way back into town. So I don't know how that all played out.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't tell you. When we got off the bus, the coaching staff, I know a lot of times we'll do a staff meal, but everybody went there kind of on their own Tuesday night. I will say for as high up as our tickets were, there's a section called Loudville there at Rocket Arena. There's a DJ booth. So before we went up to our seats, we were having a beverage of sorts, and we were standing next to the DJ booth. And I looked over, and this guy's kind of familiar, and it was Stipe Miocic, the former two-time UFC heavyweight champion, was spinning the record and then taking photos like 5 feet from me. So
wow.
you know what? Even sometimes the celebrities get put into the cheap seats.
Yeah, all right. So that you feel better about yourself there, Andrew. So the Amerks, all right, they were ahead 2-1 in Cleveland. Threw everything possible in the third period. That'll happen sometimes. Here's my question, and I don't think the reason they lost was Levi. But now that Devin Levi, what was that, his 35th start of the season? Are we concerned about the workload here, Andrew? Like, if the Amerks are going to make a deep run in the playoffs, it's going to be on the back of Devin Levi, in my opinion.
I think you're right, Gene. I asked, and you and I may have spoke about this recently, but I asked Mike Leone in a pregame media availability probably a week or two ago. I said, if you look at the trends right now, do you believe that you will have Devin Levi make over 50 starts this season? And he said yes. And that just doesn't happen very often with AHL goaltenders. I'm more concerned about the overall workload of the team, if I'm being completely honest. I think that we are one of, if not the hardest working team of any of the clubs that we play in the league. I hate saying in the entire league because we never play the Western Conference, so I don't see what 16 other teams are doing or whatever the number is. But I think we work extremely hard. I think Cleveland's another example of a game that there were large portions of the game, especially in the third period, as you talked about, where we outworked the opponent. And I think mental composure is really, really paramount to this hockey club right now, Gene, because it's hard to work that hard and not get rewarded. And when that happens over and over again, you do worry, how much more can you give to get what you're trying to get, which is 2 standings points. And the Amerks haven't been able to do that in any of their last 4 games. But with Devin Levi, I'm not too concerned. I think he's sharp. The 4 goals against, people, if you're just looking at a box score, you can make your opinion. But I thought he was sensational at times in that game. There were a couple of really unfortunate bounces, including the 4th goal that if it doesn't go in, Amerks had that net pulled for about 3 minutes and Cleveland didn't score on the empty net. So you just never know. Momentum is one of those intangibles, but it is so real that you can feel it. And the 4th one was off a defenseman and in on Levi late. Kind of a back-breaking goal. And, I wish I could say that, every team does it. No coaching staff will, but, us as members of the media, you'll look ahead and be like, okay, well, at least you got this team coming in and they're struggling. And that's not the case. Unless you consider Laval losing back-to-back games in regulation, entering tonight as a struggle, which to some people it would be because it's the first time that's happened to them in 2.5 months.
Yeah, I don't welcome that at all. Honestly, Andrew, I'd rather have them winning the last 2, and maybe they would be due for a loss here. And the last time we saw them was only 1 week ago. We heard from Mike Leone. We played the soundbite earlier this hour talking about, okay, this might be the toughest schedule here from here on out that the Amerks had. This is not ideal playing Laval 4 times in a 6-game span, or is it, Andrew? Like your thoughts on this matchup tonight, and then having to go up to Quebec coming up next weekend?
Yeah, I don't. So you mentioned how difficult the schedule is. So the AHL every day now is posting a playoff primer on the AHL.com, so any fan has access to it. And if you look, there's a column SOS. Which is not the typical signal you would flash when you need help. It's strength of schedule. Although when you look at the Amerks points percentage, you probably would want to put an SOS out there because they do have the hardest strength of schedule remaining in the Eastern Conference. And what that means is you take the points percentage of all of your remaining opponents, and you basically find what the weighted average of that is. And for the Amerks, it is 602. There's only 3 teams total in the AHL that have a points percentage left when it comes to their strength of schedule that's over 600. So I'll stop there. I don't want to nerd math you out. To your point, the Laval question, I think the Amerks have gotten the best out of themselves when they are playing the best out there. And the Rocket are certainly that this season in the North Division at least. They're 7 points clear of anybody behind them in the race. It is going to be a tough one. But I do think, like even going back to last Friday, they played extremely competitive against Laval. There was a game in January where they had 49 shots on goal against the Rocket, and a big help for the Amerks. Mike Leone said, I'm not concerned about this. The Rocket are a really, really good team regardless of who's in the lineup, but they are without some big pieces. Their top goaltender, Jacob Fowler, is not playing tonight. Their leading scorer, the AHL's leading scorer, Laurent Dauphin, he is out sick. They're missing Xavier Simoneau on the back end. And then there's a couple of others out too. So there are some heavy artillery, I should say, that is out for the Rockets tonight. So I think that coupled with the Amerks just getting up for a game like this, hopefully bears a good result.
Yeah, Andrew, last Friday night, it was a celebration. It was a look back. I mean, in social media, this was a couple weeks ago, whatever, everybody like, 2016, that was a lot of fun. Hey, dialing it back to 1996, especially for Amerks fans who were in town for that, Andrew, it was phenomenal. And, kudos to you guys bringing back Dixon Ward and Wayne Primo and, of course, Jody and wearing the Stars and Bars jerseys. It was just a lot of fun. And one guy who was on that team, too, and tonight's going to have a different tenor, and I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts because I was somebody who lived there, and, I knew Scott Metcalf, didn't know him to the point where we would, just kind of pick up the phone, didn't have his cell phone, but he would be the guy that he was like your friend in the bar. And when you heard that last year, it was like, oh, gosh, 58, that's way too young. Tell us what tonight is going to be like as, for Amerks fans, we get to celebrate the life of Scott Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really somber moment last year when, it was an unexpected passing. And Gene, you grew up as a fan of this team. I didn't. I moved here in 2023, and one of the first people that I worked with on the air, aside from Don, was Metter. And I remember him flattering my choice of suit, which, depending on who you ask in this building, will give you a different answer. But he was always complimentary of me. Got a chance to ride in a golf cart with him for a little bit during our alumni outing in 2024. And he was, I think the way you described it was perfect. Just the kind of guy that if you run into him at a bar and you haven't seen him in 1 year or 10, if you recognize him and he recognizes you, you're going to strike up conversation and both be smiling and laughing before that chat ends. My little bit of time around him, I experienced that. And I think for Amerks fans, it's getting the opportunity to honor a guy who really loved this organization, whose family loves this organization. They're going to be in attendance tonight, and they'll be at ice level for the pregame ceremony. And then, I think for, just our staff and some of the alumni. You mentioned Jody Gage. He's here all the time. He's a member of our front office, and this is a very meaningful night for all of us. The 70th season of Rochester Americans hockey, we knew going into it was going to be a year-long celebration. But nobody wanted to be in a situation like this where we're celebrating somebody who's gone far too soon. It's going to be an impactful night here at Blue Cross Arena, nonetheless.
Yeah, as tonight the last home game until. Yeah, it's the 11th. Yeah, it's going to be a few weeks with high school basketball coming into the Blue Cross. And Andrew, kind of with that, if I'm looking ahead, so you have Laval tonight. You have a game at Syracuse on Sunday afternoon. But this time next week, if we were doing this interview this time next week, the whole show next week is going to be about the NHL trade deadline, 3 o'clock next Friday. I can't ask you for your thoughts here, like about you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but you've lived this at different in different positions before. This is going to be different for Amerks fans in recent years. We can at least start there, where before you're like, okay, what are the Sabres going to sell off here, perhaps, and what prospect could we get in return? Andrew, I have every reason to believe it might be the other way around this year.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not in a position to disagree with you. I'll start, I guess, in that manner because you're right. I mean, my last 2 seasons here, and this is my third with the organization, it was around this time of year that you felt like you were either going to stay where you were or there was going to be another young player coming into the mix to help the Amherst in their playoff run. That's not to say that that can't happen. I mean, look at as recent as a month ago, Victor Neuchev gets traded for Gavin Bayreuther, and now the Amherst have a really strong addition, a veteran presence that was added to bolster this blue line. So Jarmo Kekalainen, one thing that we need to remember, and you actually referenced the year 2016. Well, in 2016, the team the Amherst just played, Cleveland Monsters, they may have been the Lake Erie Monsters at that time, but whatever, it doesn't matter. They won the Calder Cup in 2016. The general manager of that organization was Jarmo Kekalainen. So he believes in the AHL, and he believes in developing players at this level. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a player could still get added here. And I think something else fans should be aware of is that the AHL trade deadline is later this year. So there are still some AHL contracted players that could be moved even after next Friday. But yes, I do think if you look at the Sabres, I mean, they come back from the Olympic break, they get that win over New Jersey. They're doing great. This is a chance for a team to end a 15-year playoff drought. I don't think that story or narrative is lost on anybody. And I don't know. You and I can guess, heck, I mean, I think even in our front office, it's fun to guess. And because you got to remember, we all work in sports, but we're all sports fans too, and we're all rooting on the Sabres, and we're excited for all their success. And we're wondering, is this going to be the year that are they? Like, what's the mindset? Are they one move away from going from a playoff contender to a cup contender? Because we all know it can happen out of nowhere. People can say what you want at a team. They need to, and they get to the playoffs, and then, they need 3 or 4 years of being in the playoffs to get to the Stanley Cup. That's not true. There are teams that get in for the first time in years, and they win it all. Hey, who wouldn't like that as a Sabres fan, right?
Well, what's interesting, I to jump in here, because we had Jody Gage in studio, and I asked him kind of that sort of question, like what to expect, and he drew on his own personal experience that all right, there were 2 years where the Amherst, under Jody Gage as the GM, got to the Cup final, which I remember this. One was against Providence, and they lost, and the other was against Hartford, and they lost. And I remember the quick story when we came evident in the final 2 minutes. My father looks at me, he's like, "We're not staying to watch another team celebrate on our home ice," and we left. That's the only time I've ever left early because I couldn't bear to watch it. But the point Jody made was that in the one season against Providence, his team was down forwards. They didn't have enough depth. The next season was vice versa. They didn't have enough on the blue line. He said, depth is the thing. If I had to make a recommendation for Kekalainen, it would be, hey, you may not need a defenseman right now, but if you have an opportunity, go get one.
Right. Yeah. No, and I agree. And I mean, the other thing too is we just don't know. Like, we're busy right now talking Sabres Amherst. We have no idea what these other 31 teams are thinking, and we have no idea what other teams are willing to trade off, or what is the quote unquote right move or right deal. And I think that's something where, if that presents itself, the Sabres are in a position just like any other team that would be aspiring to really, run this thing and see if they can make it work, to have something happen. I mean, I also think that, we're living in a reality where for the first time in a long time, we could see both the Amherst and Sabres simultaneously playing in the playoffs. We all know what Black Aces are. What does that lead into? What players would potentially not be here and available because they're sitting there as depth pieces? Because you're talking about acquiring depth now, Gene. I mean, the Sabres may feel they already have that depth within the organization. And I think even seeing a guy like Anton Wahlberg recently get called up to play in a depth role is showcasing that. So, you're certainly shaking a magic 8-ball and getting a different answer every time you think about this.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the chaoticness. But I think one thing's for sure, you and I in 7 days and a couple of hours from now are probably going to have a much clearer picture.
Andrew, real quick, the schedule is busy here. This means you're not going to Clearwater this spring, right? Yeah, are you able to sneak it in? Or?
You know what? I'll be quick. I told myself, Gene, I'm like addicted to travel. And I told myself I will not go to spring training this year. There's actually like a sheet I had of like girl mathing my way through this, and I crossed it out and said it wasn't going to happen. but I did have like a companion pass for Delta that I wanted to use, and so yeah, I'm going to sneak down there in the middle of March. We have a stretch there where we won't play for about a week, so I'll check in on at least one Phillies game.
I knew it. I can't blame you. I would do the same thing. I would do the same
now
thing.
It's 3 years in a row, man. Now it's got to be a tradition. I don't know how I'm going to keep this up, both mentally and especially financially.
Andrew, just repeat after me. LGM. No,
I've got another 3-letter one, but I can't say it on the radio.
Thank you, Andrew. Have a good call tonight with Don. Appreciate the time, bud.
Thank you, guys. Always appreciate you.
Andrew Mossbrooks, 7 o'clock tonight. If you're going, tonight should be night with a few tears, I'm sure, for those that knew Scott Metcalf, as the Emmerichs will be celebrating the life of Scott Metcalf, family coming back into town tonight. Real quick, the Cowboys have tagged, or they say they will tag, George Pickens. Wow. How about that? Okay, so I don't know ultimately if that's going to lead to another deal, but if you're a Cowboy fan, that seems a little refreshing, right? And maybe they got the idea that if Pickens went on the street, he would not be a Cowboy. So that's just coming across now. Last call coming up. Time for your calls at 866-4326 here on WGR Rochester.
You're in the Sports Bar Are with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Like, if you had the topic of which country has the most passion for a particular sport, not where it's most popular, but like, because you could say overall, the numbers here in the U.S. kind of dwarf everything compared to others. I'm just saying, like, per capita, the most passion. Like, okay, let's start with the easy one. Hockey. It's Canada, right? We like hockey here in the U.S., and maybe ultimately, it'll tip, but right now it's Canada. Basketball, still the U.S. The NFL, well, there's only one place for the NFL. Soccer, okay, that's a little out of my realm here. Like, which country has the most passion for soccer? I'm sure you can make an argument. This brings me to baseball, because the answer to that question is not the United States. It's not any particular island in the Caribbean. The answer is Japan. And this video coming out of Japan today. So this time next week, we will also have the World Baseball Classic. And I'm not going to be a dummy like I was 3 years ago and say, you can acknowledge, like, if you have to take that, it was like, it was a little off. Where before, like, made for TV events, just get me to the real season. And then you realize, oh, wait a second. These are guys kind of playing out in a different format. And sure, it is made for TV. It's not like the Olympics or anything like that, where you're playing for country. You're playing for, ultimately, Rob Manfred and this organization trying to grow the game of baseball underneath the header of your country. There's a big difference to that. But I don't want to take anything away from Japan. These photos today out of Japan. So I'm assuming this is the Tokyo Dome, where Shohei Ohtani is just taking batting practice. And everybody is just oohing and hawing. Like, I guess, like, if people would, over there would be like, okay, the Buffalo Bills are practicing in Rochester and people are just watching them stretch. What is that all about? Well, what's the capacity of Fisher? It's like, what, 5,000, if that, for a Bills practice? This is like the Tokyo Dome sold out to watch batting practice with Shohei Ohtani. I don't even know if they let him in for free or how much they charged. Today, if you missed any of the show, you can go download the Odyssey app, listen back in real time. We have everything in bite-sized form, thanks to the Dan DeLorean. And I have firmly, this is the earliest I've ever done this, and it's my Rochester bias, but if you have a player at the podium, at the combine, saying our area code, Brandon Bean, trade up and get Casey Concepcion.
The Rock, 5'5", I moved out of Charlotte, when I was about 5. That is the Bills is actually my dad's favorite team. So I've been watching him. I have been watching him since I was young. I've been seeing Josh Allen. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I would be grateful.
We would be grateful. That's Casey Concepcion, whose father. Yes, I'm totally smitten. Dare I say, love struck. Casey Concepcion today at the Combine. And that, as we look ahead to the sports weekend, things that we didn't get to, yes, Syracuse, yes, the Combine will be on. And to me, the Combine is like spring training. It'll be background noise. Like, put any spring training game on. What were you telling me today, Tim? Acuna's going crazy?
Yeah, he's 2 for 2 in the third inning with a grand slam, a couple stolen bases. But it's February.
All right, so what are you stealing bases for? Stop. Don't hurt yourself. You know you're Acuna. You hurt yourself. Stop. Yeah, we'll get to that point of Bill's training camp, right? Like, oh, should Josh Allen play in the preseason? I'm already saying right now in February, no. Don't do it. You don't need to. Monday on the show, what happens with the Sabres this weekend? We didn't get to talk too much about them. They play tonight in Florida against the Panthers, tomorrow in Tampa Bay. Joe DiBiase from Jeremy and Joel will be stopping by. And we will have Amherst hockey tonight as they'll be taking on Laval, which means that's a split shift for you, Tim. Don and Andrew will have the call. Shope and the Bulldog coming your way next. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is WGR Rochester. Have a great weekend.